Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's practice is going to be short but spicy and it'll target the shoulders. So I'm going to be offering lots of modifications. Feel free to take those if you need them. And if anything becomes too much, remember you can always find a child's pose or any other restorative shape to catch your breath. And you can rejoin the practice or release it for today and try again next week, remembering that strength changes a lot from week to week, and you may be able to do something one week and not the next. So be gentle with yourself and enjoy the practice. Let's get started in a tabletop position. Knees under hips and wrists stuck under shoulders. And here we're going to find some gentle wrist circles to warm up. It's important to warm up the wrists, so let's start in a clockwise direction. The wrists take a lot of load, especially in a practice like this, so let's make sure that they're ready to work. And switch directions. And eventually coming back to your neutral table. And let's further work into the wrists by finding some wrist push-ups. So how we do these in our tabletop position, we're just going to lift the palm of the hand a small amount, leaving the rest of the hand, the fingertips and pads of the fingers intact with the floor, just raising the palms. So let's take 10 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And from here, let's take some scapular push-ups. So you have the option to do these from the knees or from a plank. And essentially you're going to find a neutral table or plank and move into a cat pose, rounding through the back. So this will look like this. And back to neutral. So let's take 10 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And finding your neutral plank. If you're in plank, make your ways back to the knees. And let's take a final wrist stretch before we begin. So point fingertips towards your body. And this might be a stopping point, or you can gently walk your bum towards your heels and maybe feel a bit deeper of a stretch in the wrists. Take a deep inhale, exhale, let it go. And hopefully you're feeling warmed up and ready to move into some shoulder strength. Maybe gently flick out the wrists before we begin. So the practice we're moving into is 3 sequences of work, and there's going to be a short rest between each sequence. So we'll start our first sequence. We'll move through, we'll be in a plank or option to take from table. We'll start with some shoulder taps. So finding a neutral plank, let's bring right hand to meet left shoulder and hold. And release right arm under right shoulder. And find the same thing on left side. Left hand meets right shoulder and hold. And release left hand under left shoulder. Again on the right side, right hand meets left shoulder and hold. Return right hand to mat. Left hand meets right shoulder and hold. And return left hand to mat. So keeping with me here, let's find a hollow plank. Let's hollow out our plank. So walk right arm out long, left arm out long, right arm back under right shoulder, left arm under left shoulder. Switch sides, left hand long, right hand long, left hand under left shoulder, right hand under right shoulder. And let's combine those movements. So let's take our shoulder taps. Right hand meets left shoulder and release to mat. Left hand meets right shoulder, and release to mat. Hollow out the plank. Right arm walks long, left arm walks long, and hold. Let's drop the elbows into a forearm plank and press into palms to pull elbows off mat. Walk right arm under right shoulder, left arm under left shoulder, and one more time through before the break between sets. So bring left hand to right shoulder and release. Right hand to left shoulder and release. Hollow out the plank left side, walk left arm long, walk right arm long, hold, and drop elbows. Press into hands to bring yourself back to hollow plank. And bring right arm under right shoulder, left arm under left shoulder. And bring knees to mat if they're there already. Let's find our resting pose. So we'll move into a puppy pose. Walk arms out long and melt your heart towards the mat. Chin comes towards the mat. And find a deep inhale. Exhale, let it go. Deep inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose. And take 2 more breaths here before we move into our next set. And slowly walking arms back towards body, maybe shaking out the wrists a bit before our next sequence. So this next one, we're going to be moving through some down dog, moving between down dog and dolphin. You have the option to go one elbow at a time instead of both. And our second set will be down dog chaturanga. And we'll finish off with some savasana drills, which I will show you. So let's get started in a down dog. Press hips up towards sky. Find some grounding through feet and hands. And when you're ready, let's drop elbows towards mat, dolphin pose. Press into hands and raise elbows off mat, down dog. So let's do this 5 times. Drop elbows to mat, dolphin, down dog, press into hands, peel the elbows off the mat. Drop elbows to mat, dolphin, press into hands, peel elbows off the mat, down dog. Drop elbows towards mat, dolphin, that's 3, press into hands, down dog. 4, dolphin, drop elbows towards mat, and press into hands, raise elbows up off the mat, and last time, drop elbows towards the mat, and press into hands, peel the elbows off the mat. So let's move straight into our down dog and chaturanga oscillations. So that'll look like roll forward on the toes, chaturanga, option to drop knees, elbows graze rib cage, and press back up, chaturanga, or high plank if your knees aren't lifted, and roll back into down dog. So let's do 5 of those. When you're ready, roll forward into a plank, option to drop the knees, lower into chaturanga, elbows graze rib cage, press into hands, plank pose, roll back into your down dog. That's 1, 2, roll forward onto toes, plank pose, bend into elbows, elbows graze rib cage, chaturanga, press into your hands, plank pose, and like a wave, roll back into your downward facing dog. Here's number 3. Let's roll forward, plank pose. And from here, bend into elbows, chaturanga. Elbows graze rib cage. Press strong into hands, plank pose. And like a wave, roll back, downward facing dog. Here's the 4th time. Like a wave, roll forward into plank pose. When you're ready, bend into elbows, elbows graze rib cage. Press into hands, plank pose. And like a wave, roll back into downward facing dog. Last time. And we will roll into plank pose. When you're ready, bend into elbows, chaturanga. Press into hands, high plank. And like a wave, roll back, downward facing dog. So now bring knees to mat. We're going to do 5 reps of our Rolasana drills. This one's going to work the core as well as the shoulders. So plant hands, shoulder width apart in front of you. Come onto tops of toes. And on an exhale, we're going to lift, press into toes and lift knees in towards chest. And that will be 1 rep. So it'll look like this. So let's take 5 of these. Inhale, exhale, press into toes. 1. Inhale, exhale, press into toes. And release to mat. 2. Inhale, exhale, press into toes, knees into chest. And release. Deep inhale, exhale, press into toes, knees meet chest. And release. And final one, inhale, and on your exhale, press into your toes, knees meet chest. And release the body back to the mat. So now let's move into a child's pose. We finished 2 of our 3 sets. I'm definitely sweating. I hope your shoulders are feeling nice and strong. Let's move into a child's pose. Knees come out wide, and wrists and hands, arms extend long in front of you. Take a minute to settle in here. Allow some of the heat to settle down. Inhale. Exhale, let it go. Inhale through the nose. And exhaling through the nose. And 2 more deep breaths. Alright, and walking hands back in towards body. This will be the last burst of heat, I promise, before we start settling things down. So from here, we're going to move into a crow pose hold. If crow's pose isn't in your practice, or if your wrists have had enough, which they may have at this point, you can find a crow crunch. So you can bring, if you have crow in your practice and you know where you're going, feel free to find your crow and hold it. Challenge yourself and hold it. If you're looking for modification, bring knees into chest on your back. Arms reach towards sky and palms are flexed, so you are looking at the backs of your hands. And bring knees to the back of your triceps. Bring as much of your upper body off the floor as you can. Point through the toes. You're essentially finding a crow pose shape on the floor. So you can hold here, and this isn't working the shoulders as much, but it will be working the core for sure. And it's definitely contributing to shoulder stability as well. And if you're looking to find a crow pose, you can either play with crow in this time or simply hold crow if you have crow in your practice. So bringing knees to back of triceps and challenging yourself to hold your crow. As long as you can. If you fall out of it, just jump right back in if you can, or find the crunch crow variation on your back. And everyone can release. Find a malasana yogi squat or lie on your mat. Give yourself a minute to settle back down. And allow your breathing to come back to its regular rhythm. So from here, we're all going to find a puppy pose. First, find your table, knees stack under hips and wrists under shoulders. And walk hands out long. Chest and chin not towards the mat. Hopefully here you're finding some release in the shoulders. Inhale, exhale, let it go. And peeling the body through to a Sphinx pose. So arms extend, arms are bent, and elbows are stacked under shoulders. Maybe you find a bit of a back bend. Press strong with the legs into the mat. And keep your gaze out in front of your mat. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, let it go. And release Sphinx. Walk the arms out to either side of you and lower the upper body towards the mat. Do one final shoulder stretch before I leave you for today. So for this one, staying on your belly, walk right arm out to the right side of the mat. And press into left arm. And gently roll over the right shoulder any amount. Be gentle with this one, it can be a lot. If it's too much, you can definitely take this against a wall. I dislocated my shoulder earlier last year, and this one is one that I've just recently been able to reintegrate into my practice. So it can be a lot if you've got shoulder injuries. And gently release body back towards mat. Walk left arm off to left side of the mat. And again, roll over gently onto the left side. Maybe walking right leg also off to the left side of the mat. Bringing a deep inhale here. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, rolls you back to center. And maybe finding a belly shavasana to end off your practice. I recommend to hang out here if you've got a minute. It can feel good to notice how the body feels after a spicy practice like that one. Thank you so much for moving with me today. I look forward to practicing together again soon.